Hey guys, Letter Magic here. We've had another leak. This is not quite as distant as the Kamigawa set that's coming out in 2022, we assume. Holy crap. We could be just about 2 years out from that. We don't actually know a release date. But yeah, that video I put out, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, that is a real thing. People told me, oh, I didn't click on it, I didn't watch it because I just assumed you were like, having a laugh. It's not a real thing. Okay, if the video looks like a totally tongue-in-cheek, straight-faced joke that's too good to be true, you should click on it twice as quickly because it is going to be some funny-ass dank memery. So yeah, that video got crap for views despite being a leak from 1.5 years plus in the future. Okay, so go watch that if you haven't seen it. But now we've got Kaldheim leaks, which is going to be early 2021. And they are compliments of, I guess, Southern Hobby and WizKids. I don't know who to throw under the bus. I like WizKids and I don't like Southern Hobby, so we'll just claim it was their fault. Honestly, there's not a whole lot they could have done about this one except for hold these a little bit longer because, this right here, for example, is a miniature that WizKids is going to be putting out on, March 15th, it looks like, which I think that's fairly significantly after the release of Kaldheim, but I don't know if we have an official date yet. That just seems late to me. But yeah, his name is Allruned, God of Wisdom, so we're going to have him in the set, obviously, unless they just made this up, which I doubt it. So if WizKids sounds familiar, it's because they made some token miniatures, I guess you would say. So they were token cards in Magic the Gathering recently, and then they made miniatures of those. So if you wanted to be like ultra baller pimp epic player, instead of dropping out some little 3x4 inch cardboard flat cards saying these are rats, you can just buy up a bunch of them or open the bags until you get them. I wouldn't recommend that. Although the rat was so small, you could kind of feel it, just saying. And then be like, yeah, my rats, my rat tokens, they're 3-dimensional. Yeah, I mean, we're one step away from just, Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime freaking dual discs holographic battle systems. My tokens are 3D. Yours aren't even 2D. Yours are just dice, which are 3D, but still. So I thought it was a cool product. I heard it sold pretty okay. I mean, not as good as probably the Ultra Pro counters. Those are pretty epic. But I guess those worked because these are now actually unpainted. So you're supposed to paint them yourself. Now, I mean, these obviously aren't tokens. They're going to be legendary mythics. Obviously, they're god cards. And then you have to paint them. You can't just use them. It's like, I don't get it. But my guess is you're like, oh, I want it to be the dude from Magic the Gathering, but I'm going to put him in a custom D&D campaign and play with them on tabletop playing D&D. Because let's be honest, the reason I bought like a dozen of the WizKids first run ones are to use for D&D. Technically, actually, I use most of them in Gamma World, so, So I think this would be cool. It's unusual because, do I have to say it? The game Magic the Gathering doesn't use miniatures because, it doesn't use a movement grid. But, I mean, somebody's buying them. So now they're listed on Southern Hobby, complete with titles and pictures. I suspect these weren't supposed to go out yet. They're claiming that the order due date to pre-order these is December 6th, and then they don't come out until March 15th. I mean, so that's like 3 months later. They are really an awful distributor. So continuing to go through them, we've got Cosmo Serpent. So apparently Cosmo will be one of the major mechanics, types, subtypes, whatever. I gotta say, if this is a 1" by 1", boy, is that a nice texture. But some of these I'm pretty sure are the 3D models. I don't think they actually photographed them. Next up, we got Cosmo Wolf. I kind of like the look of this. This is pretty neat. Then we've got Human Berserkers, it says, which implies that these are potentially tokens. And this one really just screams 3D rendering. Also, they come unpainted. So somebody just kind of threw up some colors that they thought, you might come up with if you paint them. But I have a feeling that those individual wood grain textures on the shield, that might be a little optimistic unless they're using one of the best, plastic molding systems ever or one of the best 3D printers, like a resin and laser system, which is really slow and inefficient. But who knows, might come out looking this good. Then we got Jace. That one will be hard to paint. Boy, if these are 1 inch wide base, and that's maybe 1.5 inches tall, damn. That will be hard, but, well, welcome to the world of painting miniatures. So I guess this doesn't absolutely guarantee that Jace will be in the set, because some of these token run things, although they've never done unpainted as far as I know, might be from, the whole standard legal, sets right now, and Jace was just in the last one. Now, I say that because the next one is Nahiri. So that's funny. Jace and Nahiri were just in the last set. So, I mean, they might continue the storyline because they all had beef and he's going to try to patch things up. I don't know. But they could just be like, oh, we're doing Kaldheim and the last one. Or they're just picking significant recent characters and they don't really care if they're, standard legal or from 2 sets back or whatever. So it's not like we're absolutely guaranteeing, hey, Kaldheim is going to have Nahiri in it. We don't really know. But the fact that they added like a light effect reflecting onto her hair and shoulder from the sword, yeah, that's pretty optimistic. It's not going to do that when you paint it unless you, put an LED in it or do some kind of like the world's smallest circuitry? Yeah, no. Next up, we got Kaya with some very poorly rendered, it looks like nose rings and eyebrow piercing rings, but they're not really where a normal person would put them. That's kind of odd. It's either that or a rendering glitch. I don't know. But, we haven't seen Kaya in a while. I mean, ever since Ravnica. So, I guess this would suggest that perhaps she's in the next set, but they could just be looking back to Ravnica because, it just cycled out. Actually, that would be weird. Yeah, I don't know. She's wearing a really, a cold weather jacket, too. That's not normally what she does, so this might be pretty telling. Next up, we got another one of the god cards. It'll be Raidan or Redane, I don't know, something like that. Goddess of Justice. So could be mono blue, could be blue-white, the typical Law and Order colors. I hope it's a mono set. That'd be really nice. Help out devotion. Then we've got Shapeshifters, which that just sounds like something I don't want in the game, but, we'll see. Might be a little early, knowing nothing about the card that they'll be on. If they can change subtype, I'll tell you right now with tribal stuff and like red-white warriors, that might be problematic. But who knows? They might just clone things, which right now cloning things would be kind of problematic. So I don't know. We'll have to see how that works out. Then we've got, this is weird. They titled this one Dwarf Fighter and Cleric. And Dwarf Cleric. So I don't know if it's supposed to represent both or if there's 2 in the pack or it's like either... Or, I don't know, they didn't do combos for the rest of them. So, I don't know. Maybe they're just saying this could represent either because, fighters and clerics could both, at least in D&D, equip a mace like that. I know, it's kind of cheapy to say, oh, this could represent both, and then just dress it super neutral in the most, generic armor. But it does tell us that they're going to reinforce the party mechanic, and the party mechanic's going to get boosted when the D&D set comes out, obviously, and those will all be in one standard rotation. So some of the more powerful party cards, if you're going to invest in something, thinking, oh, it'll get more powerful over time as the new sets come out, yeah, probably a very smart investment if that takes off as the dominant deck. You would make some serious money on that. Bit of a long shot, but it's an informed long shot. And besides, obviously, Dwarf Tribal, then we're going to have, this is an Elf Fighter and Elf Cleric. So clerics can't usually use long swords, but depending upon the D&D version, which I assume is somewhat informed this, you could have an elf that's proficient with long swords no matter what their class is. So, the way they're dressed, a lot of gold, I could see that being either. Depends on the way you paint it, because like I said, they painted that in their 3D system. And that is it. So, the most interesting one right here is Allrune. Definitely. That guy looks pretty badass. I like the look of him. Pretty epic. So it's hard to say what color or colors he'd be aligned with, but he has the same kind of rainbow metallic, anodized aluminum look, with the markings on his skin and his, I don't know, what would you call those? I don't know, ankle armor, ankle protectors. I'm sure there's a word for them. It's obviously not bracers because that's arms. I know what they're called. I just can't think of it. But anyway, yeah, they're the same kind of weird fish scale color as the Cosmo wolf was. So this might be the Cosmo god right here. So he could be colorless if Cosmo is going to be colorless or 5 color. Who knows? Otherwise, I don't know. He just kind of has a white vibe because of his beard, maybe. I don't know, he's wearing a black cloak. He could be black. It's just he doesn't look like a, dark, evil, mysterious, whatever. But, most of his clothes are black, so he could be anything. Should be interesting. So, not too much of an informative link, but it's a nice little character release and lore look forward. We have no lore details, no story details, no card details, no tribal or mechanic details. Not much other than, they're going to obviously double down on the party thing with clerics and fighters, at least. And then we're going to see, by fighter, I mean warrior, FYI. But we're going to see Cosmo as a mechanic, I guess. And there will be God cards. So those are the 3 major takeaways that I would determine from these. If you caught any other information from these, let me know. Oh, now one teeny tiny little additional detail here. Apparently they have, it says Magic the Gathering Wave 13. So my gosh, they might have been doing this a lot longer than I thought, but I haven't been to a local gaming store in a while. Unpainted Miniatures series that was coming out November 15th, actually. So about a month from now. So, I don't know, I guess I could look at the whole history of this, but it's miniatures, who cares? But in that one, they've got Isperia Law Incarnate Sphinx. When was the last time we saw Isperia in the game? And that's also from WizKids. It's also an unpainted miniature. So, they're just throwing in whatever the hell they want. Now, that said, they did do Obsidat, they did Rakdos, they did Stoneforge Mystic and a Core Hookmaster. Just all in this Wave 13, they did like a Vampire Hex Mage. They did some Goblins. They did like a Kaldheim Commander, Halimar. So all like really, really recent stuff. I mean, Aurelia's in there. Then there's something called the Borborygmos Cyclops. I guess that was from Ravnica as well. So that definitely is recent sets, except for Hesperia, which is a complete and utter standout. So if you're just like, oh, well, Jace is in the next set, and here he's in the next set, not necessarily. I think they just throw in a couple fan favorites just to mix it up, you know? But yeah, if you're looking forward to buying these, it's Wave 14, of course. So just look for that title at your store. And yeah, that's, I guess, about all there is to this one. They could have just done what my distributor usually does, and if something's kind of like the art's not public yet, they'll tell them, don't release the art for this until this date, and they'll just leave, you know, image pending or whatever. But they would have had to put the titles in so that they could pre-order it, but is anybody going to pre-order it without seeing it? You know, it's like a whole thing. So, I mean, there's not much they could have done except maybe Wizards telling WizKids to release them a little bit later, or mark them as like confidential until after a certain date and just have a really narrow like sales window or something. I don't know. I mean, just how do you prevent leaks like this? I don't know. It's a lot of lead time to make products like this. So, I mean, it's not like we've seen cards from it. It's not like anything's ruined. It's not like we know any of the mechanics. So if anything, this is just pure hype. So, I mean, this is one of the least impactful leaks we've seen, but it's definitely interesting look at. And if you thought it was interesting, leave a big old like on the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.